Hey, it's Thomas here, and today we're doing a quick review on the Tunze Aquawind Aquarium Ventilator, aka Aquarium Fan. If your reef's getting a little bit warmer than you'd like, but you don't have the space or budget for a traditional refrigerant chiller, then this little fan's gonna help you harness evaporative cooling. Stability for our reefs applies to every parameter you can think of, including temperature. Getting a good heater and pairing it with a solid heater controller is a great way to prevent temperature spikes and keep that graph super flat. But what happens when keeping the tank warm isn't the problem? It's pretty well common knowledge that corals don't like getting too hot. Most reefers out there would agree that 80 degrees Fahrenheit is really the maximum you'd want to keep your reef at on a regular basis. That said, I think most of us out there are going to shoot for about 78 degrees. That way we have a little bit of a buffer. It's really important to understand though, even if we're at 76 degrees and swing up several degrees to 80, that 80 degrees is going to become pretty rough on your corals because of that 4-degree swing in temperature. So it's super important that we also make sure that our reefs don't get too hot, especially suddenly. There are lots of reasons why your aquarium might be running warmer than it should. For example, it could be summertime and you don't have AC at your home, or you do have AC but somebody in the house opens a window in the same room as the tank, letting lots of warm air in. It could be winter and somebody's getting cold, so they crank the heat right up. All of those things can affect the tank. You could even have put new lighting on the aquarium, not expecting it to have more heat transfer to the tank than your previous lighting. Whatever the case may be, keeping the aquarium cool is extremely important, especially for nano reefs because of that smaller water volume, which makes them more susceptible to temperature swings. Traditional refrigerant-based chillers are always a great option. They do tend to be a little bit more expensive and definitely a little bit more bulky. And for those of us who only need to drop our tanks maybe 1 to 2 degrees at most, they can be overkill. Using fans to harness the power of evaporative cooling is nothing new. I've been doing it for over a decade. In a nutshell, as you move air across the surface of the water, you increase the rate of evaporation, and as the water evaporates, heat is shed and the temperature of the water drops. It's simple really, but this is the first time I've seen an option that works this well in such a compact and sleek form factor. Purpose-built, real cool. Good job, Tunze. The Tunze Aquawind is like the stealth fighter of cooling fans. It's also the most popular fan on our website and the one our team recommends. In the box, you'll find the Tunze Aquawind Twin Aquarium Fan, the USB power cable, and the 5-volt power supply with various socket adapters. Unlike other fans, the Aquawind's low-profile design isn't just for looks, but also creates a linear airflow that blows like a sheet across the surface of the water to accelerate evaporation by utilizing as much of the surface area of the water as possible. Personally, I'd set up the Aquawind to blow across the length of the aquarium to best take advantage of that surface area, but front to back also works. And for cube tanks, there really isn't a long side, so dealer's choice. The Aquawind is rated for aquariums up to roughly 130 gallons and has the potential to decrease the aquarium temperature by up to 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit. This rating is probably a little bit generous, and I would expect to hit the lower end of the rating at 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit and drop when I'm dealing with something like 130 gallons of water. With that said though, you could easily just implement 2 of these and still be well below the cost of a traditional refrigerant-based chiller and draw much less energy. It's mounted using a clamp with rubber pad and suction cup to make sure it sticks to your aquarium, stays stuck, and prevents vibration. It fits on both rimless and rimmed aquariums, and the clamp fits on thicknesses up to almost 1 whole inch. The 5-volt power supply pulls a very small amount of energy to power the 2 fans, which run quite quietly. The fans have 2 speeds controlled by a rocker switch. Low speed is indicated by a red LED, and high speed is indicated by a blue LED, which is great so you don't have to, try to gauge the airspeed with your hand. You can just look at the light. The Aquawind can also be plugged directly into a temperature controller or an Apex so that those devices can control when the Aquawind turns on and off automatically, which is a great way to set up a redundancy on the tank so that if the temperature starts to spike on a tank that usually doesn't have any temperature issues, you already have a method implemented to bring that spike down and keep the tank cool, hopefully saving any kind of catastrophe that could otherwise happen that would harm your corals. Safety net. Not only can it cool, it looks pretty cool and has some blue LEDs to create a frosty glow within the fan blades, which is pretty awesome. It is worth mentioning though, you can't turn those LEDs off without shutting the fans themselves off, so if that's not something you want glowing on the top of your tank, it's just not going to be your cup of tea. I will say the fans are quiet, but still make a small amount of noise, not enough to overpower a skimmer or hang-on filter. But if your tank is already ultra quiet, you might notice the fans when you're standing next to the tank and they're operating, just because they're right at the top and close to your ears. Another consideration is that the fan is right by the water, so it's important to make sure it doesn't get splashed with salt water by unruly circulation pumps or clumsy maintenance, or the metal guards could rust over time. But that goes for just about every cooling fan. I'm a huge fan, sorry I had to, of the Tunze Aquawind, and having used some big clip-on fans in the past on personal aquariums, I gotta say, I really wish this thing was available back then because it just looks so much better and is purpose-built to do the job efficiently, which I can sincerely appreciate. Now, the importance of a good cooling solution is only half the recipe for temperature success. Making sure your heater's doing its job and doing it right is also super important. Where do you place your heater? Is it better to go digital or bimetal? Ryan's got all the answers for you right here. He's gonna tell you all about it, because heating is as important as cooling. Temperature stability is two parts of the same whole.